Alright, so we're here in the simulator. Let's learn how to turn on the airplane. Now we're already on ground power, but I'm going to show you how to do the rest. So first things first, we're going to turn on the lights and we're going to start the APU. So that fault light illuminates. And then we should be seeing the APU start up. You'll see the RPM grow, the EGT will eventually come on, and then we'll have air power, which we will see up here. We'll have some duct pressure, some pneumatics will be going, and then we can start our engines. Meanwhile, we'll start our hydraulic pumps, and one fuel pump has automatically started with the APU, but we'll override that anyway. Start the other fuel pumps, and now we wait. So the APU is speeding up. There's the EGT. And this is what it looks like when the APU is running and stable. It'll float right around 100% because it's governed to stay right there. And we have duct pressure up here. So that's about all we need to start the engines. So taking a quick look at our engine gauges, N1 is the fan speed or the low pressure side. EGT is right here. N2 is the core speed or the high pressure side. And then we have fuel flow, oil pressure, temperature, quantity, and a vibration meter. Down here we have the status page just so we can watch what the APU does. So to start the engine, we go up to the starter. Now the first thing you'll see is N2 begins to increase. That's the core. As the core speed increases to above this limit, I can then add fuel. So as I add fuel, you'll see the exhaust gas temperature will increase. And yeah, the APU's gotten quite a bit hotter now. So then we're just waiting with our hand at the fuel switch, just in case exhaust gas temperature gets too hot. There's the starter cutout, so the switch for the starter went right back to auto. And that's about it. The engine is idling. You can see the exhaust gas temperature is decreasing. The N2 is stable, and the N1 has come up to a stable percentage now as well. So that's it. That's how simple it is. We'll go ahead and start number 2 real fast. So again, my finger's right here. And as soon as that gets to 15%, I'll give it fuel. So fuel is in. Here comes exhaust gas temperature. And the starter should cut out right around 55. So then the valve light will come off to let us know the valve has successfully motored all the way. And there you go, 2 stable running engines. So before we fly, we'll set our flaps to a takeoff setting. We will start our packs, which give us breathing oxygen. And we will go ahead and turn off the APU. It'll take it a second, it'll cool down first, and then it'll turn itself off. And all these warnings should clear. There's the flaps going down to 5 degrees, and the APU should cool down and then shut itself off here shortly. And we'll be ready to take off. So here we can see the APU has pretty much successfully shut down. So we're done with that thing. We have no more warnings up here. I will go ahead and hit the recall button, and you see that there is nothing except for the word recall that appears there. So that means we have no warnings. We're ready to take off. Now, one thing I want to show you guys, we have 3 speeds that are associated with takeoff. V1 is the commitment to fly speed. So after 133 nautical miles an hour, or knots, we are going to take care of any problems that happen in the air. VR is our rotation speed. That's when we'll pull back. And V2 is our minimum safe climb speed. So 151 knots. And for the fudge factor, we always add 15 knots to that. So my reference is set to 166. So that gives us a good safe climb speed for takeoff. So how does takeoff look? Well, the first thing you do is you advance the throttles, maybe 75%. We'll do 71. So we're rolling, we check our temperatures and pressures, and then we hit the takeoff go around button. That'll set takeoff power. So then we're rolling. At this point, we're looking for our rotation speed. We're trying to stay centered on the runway. So here comes V1. There's V1. and rotate. That's it, we're in the air. I'll pull the gear up and we're climbing out. So after all that, how do you land? Well, the first thing we're going to do is figure out what our flap and landing speed is going to be. And we're going to drop those in that window. I don't know if you guys can see that really. And we're going to arm our speed brakes and set up our auto brakes. So we'll use an auto brake selection of 3. Then up here on the autopilot mode control panel, we're going to hit approach mode. From there, we're going to want the airplane to slow down. We're already lined up with the runway, and that's indicated by the localizer. We're waiting on glide slope. So this is the localizer indicator. We're pretty much lined up. The glide slope is above our heads right now. So as we arrive at it, the glide slope will activate and we will be following that down to the runway. So since we're coming near flaps up speed, I'm going to go ahead and select flaps 1. Flaps 1 comes up over here, and then our autopilot automatically selects a speed for flaps 1 maneuvering. And as we get to lower flap settings, it's going to keep on slowing down. I'm going to keep on adding flaps. And there's Denver. Now we are on glide slope, on localizer, and you can see those 2 indications are pretty much dead on. We're slowing down to the flaps 15 speed, and we are looking for the right altitude to throw down the gear. And that'll happen at 2,500 feet above the ground. So that'll be right around 8,200 feet on my altimeter. Now, we're on a automatic landing setup here. So we have all 3 autopilots engaged. We're on approach mode, and we're in speed mode, where I am manually selecting the speed that the auto throttles are going to try and maintain.
2,500.
There's the 2,500 call out, so I can go ahead and throw the gear, and then we'll start to get indications there. And that'll slow us down a little bit too. I'm going to go ahead and set the go around altitude of 10,000 feet. And then as the gear indicate down, I will go ahead and select a landing flap setting, and I will keep decreasing speed to my reference speed there on the bottom. So in this case, I'll go a couple knots above reference to 140, and I'll go ahead and put in final flaps. Now on this display, we see we are currently 1,800 feet above the ground. We're on localizer, we're on glide slope, and we're getting to where we're on speed. And these are the conditions we need. We have the auto speed brake armed. That's going to be the spoilers on the wings. We have the gear down, we have the auto brakes armed, we have final flaps set, and the autopilot looks like it's in good shape. We have no warnings here, so we're good to proceed. So here we are about to cross through 1,000 feet above ground, and our last check has to be done before 500. In fact, we'll do it closer to 500, but I'm going to go ahead and rattle it off to you now. So we're on speed mode, localizer mode, and glide slope. We have armed rollout and flare. That's going to be our automatic landing. We have land 3 engaged here, which tells us we're on auto land. There's our minimums warning, which we don't got to worry about. Again, we have gear, final flaps, speed brake armed, auto brake selected, and at this point we're just waiting to land. Here shortly we're going to have landing callouts, 50, 40, 30, 20, and there's the runway.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
So I'll pick up the thrust reversers. Engines are in reverse mode. Then I pull the thrust reversers back, and the engines will speed up in reverse mode. And at 80 knots, I will decrease reverse thrust. And then at 60 knots, I stow the thrust reversers. Now the auto brake is still working, so we're still slowing down. And there are 2 ways to override that. I can either use my toes on the foot brakes, or I can disarm the auto brake that way. And then using the tiller, steer off the runway. And that's it. That's a landing.